Our job is to pursue justice without fear or favor.
Was this just one big dog and pony show?
Wait, that's an insult to puppies and ponies.
Yes, it is. For more, let's bring in Republican Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry, also chair of the Freedom Caucus. Scott, good to see you. Congressman, good to see you. I'm listening to this testimony, and probably like you, I'm outraged that Garland is saying that justice is blind, there's not a double standard, and that he's brought to tears because the FBI is targeting traditional Catholics. What was your take on his testimony, and do you think we'll have an impeachment coming from the House on Garland?
Well, I sure hope we have an impeachment. Good afternoon. I offered impeachment articles now months and months ago, and this is my take on it. I'm outraged. He appears to be outraged, and he appears to think that his words are going to make the facts change. Here are the facts. If you watch the Thomas Massie questioning, that the Department of Justice has gone after Elon Musk, but they can't be bothered with Mark Zuckerberg. Has gone after Catholics, but can't be bothered with Antifa. Has gone after Donald Trump, but can't be bothered with Joe Biden. Has gone after the numerous Trump children, but can't be bothered with $20 million in illicit funds received by the Biden family. He can say whatever he wants to, but the proof is what actually exists. These folks live in their alternate reality, and they think just by saying so that we're going to join them. We're not. We live in the world of reality, and the reality is it's a persecution by this weaponized Department of Justice under Merrick Garland and President Joe Biden.
And the head of the FBI, Chris Wray, in terms of targeting Catholics, initially said, oh, it's just one rogue field office. And it was a single product by a single field office. And it turns out that was a lie that he told in front of Congress. That it was it was Portland, Los Angeles, Richmond, and God knows where else. And it was only under threat of Jim Jordan that we found out.
Right. Why is Chris Wray not being prosecuted for lying to Congress? Why is Chris Wray not being prosecuted for false statements? Like I said, they say one thing, but we know absolutely they're doing another. And when they wonder why we don't trust them, yeah, the field office they're talking about happens to be FBI headquarters, which is the same headquarters that collaborated with the National School Boards Association to put threat tags on parents that had the audacity to go to the schools and question the school boards, the very school boards for which they pay. That's why we don't trust them. That's what we see. That is reality.
Chris Wray not prosecuted because he's an ally of the left. And when you're an ally of the left, you don't get prosecuted. Congressman, you also got into it earlier with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg earlier on EVs, and it turned into somewhat of a shouting match. Let's watch.
One of the reasons we've seen manufacturing jobs grow so much in this administration compared to the manufacturing recession under the last administration is that we're investing in American manufacturing.
You're investing with our money in things that we don't want.
I need to point out that wealthy people were specifically excluded from the Inflation Reduction Act.
Well, I just gave you the number. Do you dispute that 2/3 of EV owners are owned by people over 100,000 that make over 100,000? Did you dispute that?
Yeah, the first EVs, of course, were.
Do you dispute that?
No, but that number's going down.
Those are the facts. It doesn't matter if they're going down now. The folks that I represent can't afford them today, sir.
Why were you against cutting their costs?
All these factors. I'm not against cutting their costs. The market should do it. But you want the government, you want my taxpayers to pay to cut the cost, which isn't cutting the cost. It's subsidizing the cost.
You know, Congressman, it was a great exchange because, again, he's talking about cutting costs not by reducing the cost of EVs, but by subsidizing EVs even more.
That's exactly right. Ford is going bankrupt with the subsidization of EVs. And understand, even though they're losing money on every taxpayer-funded subsidy for EVs, they have to raise the cost of the F-150, F-250, your other average car that is an electric vehicle to make up for the massive losses that they're suffering on the other side of the equation. And oh, by the way, those losses then equate to benefits and pay that can't be paid for their workers that then go on strike because they can't afford groceries, electricity bills, or gasoline. This is all self-imposed by the Biden administration on the very people that that supported them to get there, and they claim that they're the big champions of the United Auto Workers. The Biden administration is at war with the American people, in particular the car manufacturing industry, and in particular the United Auto Workers.
Well, the car maker should have told the Biden administration to go jump in a lake and not gotten on the board with them and not taken the billions and billions and billions of subsidies. And that's the problem. $1 trillion in subsidies to their climate cronies, $400 billion in subsidies to these electric vehicles. Guess what? You get more of whatever you subsidize. It is debt spending.
That's right.
It is economic fascism. But speaking of all of this, the looming government shutdown, this is what you are fighting for. You and other GOP lawmakers are focused on getting a continuing resolution to get a budget going, but 5 of your Republican colleagues are not having it, calling for steeper spending cuts as part of the appropriations process. Give us an update, Congressman.
So the update is that we're trying to get to the lowest number we can. Understand the Senate isn't going to abide by the deal that they made just 2 months ago. They're already trying to raise the spending even more. And just like buying a car, you want to go in at the lowest number, and then you have to negotiate somewhere to the middle. So we're trying to get to the lowest number that we can. And oh, by the way, it's not a continuing resolution that we offered because it doesn't continue the spending or the policies. It's actually a cut in spending, and it puts strong border enforcement policies tied to funding that the Biden administration would finally have to follow. So it's not a continuing resolution. It's actually a sequester. But again, we're working through the details right now. As you know, especially your partner there, sometimes these things don't come together until the last minute. And we'll probably get there.
Congressman, I know you'd cut even more, but you understand, you and I did this together when we were in the House, but you got to get the moderate Republicans to come along, and they can't go as far as, guys from conservative districts like you. And you get 5 guys to say no. What happens is you don't get more conservative. Oftentimes you get less conservative legislation, which frustrates me as an American. I want you to get as much as you can, but Republicans in the end have to stick together. And I know that, and I know that's what you're fighting for. So let's go to this. Not only does democracy depend on you, Congressman, but so does democracy on the Senate floor. Hoodie loving John Fetterman tweeting, he'll only be a professional functioning human if Republicans stop the government shutdown. Now, he said in a statement, quote, if those jagoffs in the House stop trying to shut our government down and fully support Ukraine, then I will save democracy by wearing a suit on the Senate floor next week. Congressman, let's let him keep wearing hoodies, and let's keep fighting to cut spending, whether it's Ukraine or FBI or DOJ.
I agree with you. And if he can't have any decorum in the things he says, my goodness, maybe keep your mouth shut, since apparently you can't have any decorum there either. So it'd be better if for 6 years we actually never heard from or saw Senator John Fetterman.
He's quite full of himself these days, isn't he? Congressman Scott Perry, great to see you, sir. We covered a lot of ground.
Thank you. God bless you.
Yes. God bless you.
Yes, we
Thank
do.
you, Scott Perry.
Okay, we're going to keep at it. God bless.
All right.